Hey guys, it's God Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 191st episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So the thing with being quote-unquote lyrical as an MC that I feel many people kind of overlook or don't fully grasp is how there's a handful of different kinds of writing that could still fall under that classification. There's also a good amount of personal preference that you have to weigh because what content you consider deep or interesting is obviously going to vary depending on your personal taste and experiences. When it comes to my personal lyrical preference, if you're a frequent viewer of the channel, you probably know I hold rappers like LP, Billy Woods, Aesop Rock, or R.A.P. Ferreira in the highest regard when it comes to true poets. Take the old Company Flow song Last Good Sleep, for example, where LP paints such a vivid, poetic, and disturbing true tale of abuse from his childhood. You could remove the music completely, and while you definitely would be missing out on the full experience, I maintain you could just read the lyrics as a piece of poetry, and you'd probably be floored by just how deep and densely penned this story is. However, where those guys often structure their bars with a lot of abstract imagery, eLZhi is the type of writer who puts together rhyme schemes that are always tightly packed with double entendres and wordplay. While the sounds and styles that this dude tackles have morphed over the years, he's been a top tier lyricist all the way back since the early days where he joined Slum Village, all the way up until this current day where, in my opinion, eLZhi's been releasing some of the highest quality work in his career so far. There may have been some personal issues behind the scenes that put a slight damper on the release of Lead Poison, the album we're talking about today, but I don't really hold that against eLZhi, nor do I think it hurts the actual project itself. If anything, it's probably a positive that it wasn't rushed. I could definitely understand why some fans would be upset though, considering that this LP was actually paid for through crowdfunding, which, if you aren't aware, basically means hundreds of thousands of listeners around the world chipped in from their own pockets to make this thing happen. It isn't like eLZhi just pocketed the money and ran off or something. It was more the pressure and other personal woes that stagnated this album's release. And that topic actually comes up on the project itself. I'm not sure how much these events had to do with it, but for some reason I seem to recall Lead Poison being passed over when it came time to discuss the best albums of 2016, outside of BZ430 of Dead End Hip Hop in his list, who always shows love and support to rappers and producers from his hometown of Detroit. I don't remember anyone calling it straight up whack or anything, which adds up considering how undeniable the level of technical ability he shows on every track is, but I think most people were of the opinion that the production holds this thing back a bit. I actually recall kind of agreeing with this take back when this album first dropped, but you have to take it with a grain of salt because I don't think anybody was implying that the beats were downright whack or unenjoyable. I believe it was more of just a general sense that they were slightly underwhelming when compared to eLZhi's top-tier rapping. However, looking back, I find it harder and harder to discern what it was I didn't enjoy about the production, because nearly every instrumental on this thing has aged extremely well, and the one beat that fellow Detroit legend Quelle Chris cooked up for this thing is still one of the hardest flips that 2010s hip-hop had to offer. That song is one I can confidently say I was pretty obsessed with the first time I heard Lead Poison, as even without Chris's amazing sample treatment, eLZhi really shows out on this song and displays how he's arguably unrivaled when it comes to this specific style of writing. He starts off this track with what I still consider my favorite verse of his, starting off with, "You must have got your blunt laced while blowing regs to think I'll catch booze on stage that go in kegs. Your imagination is growing legs, my back is growing eyes for unknowing spies that cut off annoying ties faster than a Boeing flies. I'm showing wise. Guys, I'm wise men, skies bend when I bend there, pulling lines out of thin air for 10 square miles. So when pushing the pen, this felt like a pierced cushion within rare dowels." resembling peers. Indeed, the flow sounds sicker, it goes down quicker than a 10 speed when disassembling gears. You tremble when fear is about to consume your thought. It will rip a room apart and chew through your human heart. You're mystified from what exists inside. A Jekyll is Mr. Hyde, bigger fish to fry while our wrists were tied. Your stress stand couldn't be the best man, standing by your sister's side while she kissed her bride. No matter what track he appears on, L really attacks every verse or even every feature as if it's the first and last time you're ever going to hear him, which has resulted in him being one of the most consistent go-to guys when anyone needs a Fire 16. Even thematically, eLZhi is insanely creative and witty, beginning the album with a skit where you hear him scribbling down ideas and second-guessing himself, scratching them out, giving us a bit more insight into the mindset he was in when crafting the album. My favorite moment in this area, and definitely the most creative, is the frankly genius song Hello, which is like a Nas level concept track that honestly still floors me to this day. You should really experience that one for yourself, but the gist of this somewhat abstract idea is basically that eLZhi is trapped inside the song and trying to break out, and each verse sees him directly talking to the listener of that track in a way I can almost guarantee you've never heard before. While the rest of the track list isn't quite as out there conceptually, they're still virtually all very heavily thematic and lyrically dense. And while this sonic ship is mainly steered by eLZhi, there are a few welcome guest appearances from the likes of Smitty Soul, Chris Dave, the Drumheads, Dre Sconey, and Fabicile Griffin. When it comes to the production, outside of the stellar single I mentioned earlier, which Quelly Chris handled, the rest of the instrumentals are done by Bombay, 14KT, Agor, Joseph, Yosef Alva Diaz, Oh No, Soul Dad Brother, Kareem Riggins, and Nick Speed. When it comes to my honorable mentions on this thing, I narrowed them down to Introverted, Weedopedia, February, 216s, Friend Zone, The Healing Process, Cloud, Alienated, She Sucks, and Keep Dreaming. For my top three favorite songs overall, I think I would have to go with Egocentric, Medicine Man, and Hello. Thank you for watching my 191st video. Next time, we're going to discuss one of the most impactful hip-hop artists of the 2010s who hasn't been on the page yet. So check for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what moments you revisit the most off of this lyrical slugfest. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Oh,
who would do such a thing? Look. Look, I stand in the flame of a feeling we call pain. Father's Day mug, little hand shaped the clay. Carrier planes flew overhead in pockets.